Dude, I'm fucking stoked to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Dude,
Glad to have you.
Absolutely.
We've been talking about this for a little bit now. We've been working on it.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
At work and shit.
But let's just start it off like that. We met each other because he's a bartender at a restaurant I work at, and we just started talking. Ends up we have a lot of similar connections and
yes, similar connections for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Similar industry, everything like that. So glad you can be here. Glad you took
Dude,
the offer
I'm glad to be
when
here.
I put it out.
No, 100%.
So,
I ended up having this day off, and it worked out better than shooting it yesterday.
Yeah, not so much for Ryan because of his ankle.
Yeah, not so much for Ryan. I was about to say he probably wouldn't have broken his ankle yesterday, but
yeah, I mean, who knows? What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the All In Podcast. Today, we're going to be joined by our guest, Babe Beats, and he's going to be sitting in, sharing with us his experience, his secrets, whatever he figured out in the industry. He's been in it for a little bit now. He is a beat producer. He's an upcoming artist and a drummer too, bro. That's on top of it. He's a man of many traits.
there you go.
To start this off, let's just have you introduce yourself to the people.
I go by Babe, Alt Babe on Instagram, ALTBAEB. I love to produce music. I love to record my own music. And I try to have a separation between my making beats persona and then like my actual like song persona. But that's still coming along.
When did you first realize that you had a passion for creating music and actually putting words into lyrics?
I started playing drums when I was like 5 years old, and that was my first passion, was playing drums. Growing up, I had my dad and my two uncles. They played all kinds of music, played all instruments, you know what I mean? So I grew up around a musical background. I spent a lot of time at my uncle's house and my grandma's house, and my uncle had his drum set set up, and I would always watch my cousin play drums, and I'd be a little ass kid sitting in the drum room with him with these, like, you know, the cover headphones, like the
sound canceling.
Yes, and I would watch him play drums. He was probably like 21, 22 at the time when I was a little ass kid, and he was listening to Green Day, Blink-182, Yellow Card, Newfound Glory, like all the OG like pop punk bands, you know. So
That's
when
fire.
I got big enough for my feet to reach the pedals, my uncle would just let me play his drums. His like badass expensive drum set. So that's how I started playing drums when I was a little kid, and then that's where my first passion for music was playing drums. I kind of was self-taught. I kind of just taught myself how to play through listening to Green Day, Blink-182, My Chemical Romance, Yellow Card, Newfound Glory, all the like 2000s and 90s like pop punk bands.
You started playing the drums. When did you realize you can record it and then share it for other people?
It did not come until after I graduated high school. Growing up, I was like very like tunnel visioned. I was like, I played the drums and that's all I need to focus on doing. I don't need to focus on learning how to sing or doing this or doing that. I was kind of just like, oh, I'm a drummer. You know what I mean? So throughout high school, whatever, starting up little bands and shit like that. A whole nother topic, but getting out of high school and getting into an actual band, and then we started playing actual shows through Orlando, DeLand, Daytona, Tampa, and then actually going on tour and shit like that, like across the United States. Like that was my first introduction into actually playing music.
How old were you at that time?
Didn't actually start playing like real actual shows until after I graduated. So I was probably like 18, 19 years old, playing actual shows at like actual venues like Back Booth, Uncle Lou's in Orlando, the skate park in Tampa. They've been a bunch of different venues throughout the years, started playing shows there. That was my first band's first show at the skate park in Tampa. So yeah, I started playing shows actually after high school, getting into a serious band, and then we would go on tour like throughout the United States and stuff like that. And that was my first experience playing and being in the music industry. Coming to actually recording and making beats and making my own music didn't come until 2018. 21, 22 years old is when I first started like learning how to record myself and make beats and stuff like that. Like that's where that passion came from. And it came from, honestly, I mean, at the time, really liking Juice WRLD, Lil Peep, Lil Tracy, all the early SoundCloud rap, you know what I mean?
That era.
Lil Yachty, like that whole era. Like
Lil Pump too.
I mean,
he had his face for that.
Fuck it, bro. Fuck it, yeah. So I graduated 2015, so 2016, like a year being out of high school. That whole era was going on at that time. So, and I was just starting to explore the world, the music industry, playing drums seriously as an actual touring musician, and all that shit going on at the time. I was interested in learning how to make my own shit because I
Yeah.
wanted to rap and stuff, and I would go and record, but I did not like the feeling of having to go find YouTube beats. And that
Yeah.
shit was just popping off at that time. Like 2015, 2016, releasing type beats was like new. So me having to go find type beats just to try to pay money to go to the studio and then pay money for the beat.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not even where I want to be. Like, I'm not even where I want to be stylistically rapping on the beats for me to go pay money at a studio or pay money to buy.
Yeah, you want to build up your experience before you like start paying for your actual like time wise.
Exactly. So that's how I got into making beats.
That's
I was
fire.
like, I might as well learn how to make my own beats.
How did you find your like style, like what you wanted to push more towards? Like you recorded that shit and then like you put it back and you were like, bro, like that's what kind of music, like that's like what my flow I want to have.
Honestly, that's a hard question to answer
Yeah.
because I feel like I'm still figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I could say when I found out what sound I wanted to go towards was I guess when I found out how to manipulate my voice. Anyone that records music or finding out how to record themselves will understand. When you start recording and then you figure out how to mix things slightly to where they actually start sounding good once you record them, then I started experimenting with like my own sound and like
Yeah.
finding what sound I wanted to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard for me to find that out before I started recording myself because, like I said, you got to pay for studio time, you got to pay for the
Yeah,
mixes,
yeah, you have to go through all of that.
you got to do all that. But and it's not like it's an easier road recording yourself because you still have to learn how to do all that shit.
Yeah.
But once I started getting good at figuring out how to, or getting better at how to mix things properly,
Getting more experience, yeah,
yes,
with that.
with doing that, that's when I started finding what sound I wanted to achieve. And I really gravitate towards very auto-tuned things and auto-tune being used as a tool. Like you can use your voice as a tool with auto-tune.
How did you come up with your name?
I wanted just like a one-word name and I wanted something to like switch around. Like something that I could kind of spell differently. Bae is like B-A-E, and then I was like B-A-E-B. That's pronounced, you could pronounce that the same way as,
Babe.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I fuck with that. Plus, like at the time, you know, like Da Baby and Lil Baby and shit like that. So I was like, you know, it might be a little weird, but like, fuck it. Like that was like what I wanted to go with. I was like, fuck it, B-A-E-B, like babe, but switch the B and the E. So it's like spelled differently,
That's
but
sick.
still sounds the same way. And I was like, yeah, I could use that.
What does your process look like when you're crafting a beat together? Like, do you have routines that like you kind of like do to come up with the creative process of it and like the creative aspect of it, of getting like that idea and then turning it into something and bringing it to life?
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, there's many different ways to go about that. I feel like my process is never the same. Like, there's similar processes, there's similar paths I can take every time I make a beat or make something.
Yeah.
But I've said this always. I'm not the type of person that can just be like, I sit down at the desk and I go, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It never works out like that.
Mhm.
Every single time I sit down and I go, this is what kind of beat I'm gonna make, or even if I have a song idea and I'm like, this is what song I'm gonna make, I cannot operate like that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't sit down and tell myself what I'm gonna do. I kind of just have to sit there, and then whatever I'm making could turn into something completely different.
Yeah. During that process of creating music, how do you find the inspiration to kind of create something new? Because like I feel like you've gone through the process of having to create a beat so many times. How do you find that inspiration to that you can find a sound that you haven't found already in a way?
So when I first started making beats, basically I was under the impression it's like, yo, I'm not going to use samples or pre-recorded melodies or anything like that. Like, I'm going to make everything from scratch. And then once you start doing it more, you start realizing it's like, dude, there's nothing wrong with using samples or pulling in tracks from different things to get either inspiration or start off your project or whatever. So essentially, that's why every single time it looks different, because a lot of the times, if I sit down in front of my computer and I'm like, all right, I need to warm up. Number one, I'm going to Splice and I'm pulling in a fucking sample that I think sounds hard.
Yeah.
And then I'll just build drums off of it, like a hat, a snare, and a kick, and a 808. And I'll just make a beat in like 5 minutes. Boom. It's bumping. It's chilling. Cool. I'll start another one. It's like almost like a warm up. Like you gotta like when you're starting a session, you gotta sit down and you warm up. That's my process anyway. I sit down, I warm up. I make like 2 or 3 beats, quick as fuck. Just like pull in a sample, make some drums real quick. Boom, I'm done. They sound hard, whatever. But then when I'm actually sitting down to like make like something big, like something more than just a beat. So it's like I'll pull up Onaseer and make some chords and then make more chords off of that.
Yeah.
And I'll copy and paste this but with a different sound. And then I might pull in a sample too just to counter melody whatever I already have going on. And then, you know, it'll be anywhere from writing everything in MIDI to actually pulling in samples as drums. And I know that's kind of like a lot all at once. When I'm
that's fire.
I could write everything in MIDI, like literally everything, like just like click, 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 click. You know what I mean? Like all MIDI. Or I could like just take the samples and pull them in as audio tracks and mix, and then start building the beat that way with just my audio tracks, like an audio snare and an audio kick, and then building it out like that. It looks different every time. It's kind of however way I want to approach it. After you do it for a while, it comes to a point where you have to try to challenge yourself so it doesn't become the same process every single time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Like you have to challenge yourself to do something different.
Do something different because you can easily fall into that same core process.
That rhythm, yeah.
Every single time you do something, but that will eventually, you'll get burnt out. You'll be like, shit, I don't want to fucking do that.
Yeah, it will eventually get old.
Yes.
What do you think is like one of the most challenging aspects of being in the music industry like today?
This could be a different answer for anybody who asked this, but for me, a little bit about this earlier, my biggest thing is putting yourself out there and marketing yourself.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem. And for some reason, I've faced that challenge throughout my entire experience ever since I started playing shows back in 2016. These days and coming up in that time period, it's so easy nowadays to network and market yourself. For some reason, I've always had trouble with that aspect of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like you said, some people know how to market themselves, but they have nothing to market. They don't have any talent. They don't have anything good to represent, but they know how to post TikToks.
Know how to clip people's stuff.
They know how to follow the algorithm
Yeah.
type shit. You know what I mean?
100%.
So I feel like following the algorithm, to answer your question bluntly, I feel like following the algorithm is my biggest downfall as an artist, because I feel like I have the talent and the drive, but I can't figure out how to push the algorithm.
How do you like going off of what we were just talking about, because it kind of ties into it? There's so much competition out nowadays because so many people are doing that.
Everybody, I think I saw an article, I don't want to overcompensate, there's like 3,000 songs being uploaded to Spotify every single fucking day.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Every single day, there's thousands of songs being uploaded every day from a new artist or a new somebody that bought an audio interface, a computer, and a DAW.
Yeah.
And that just wants to put their shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You really have to either be corny as fuck or have something so unique about yourself that it will catch people's eye.
How do you like keep that same headspace not to be so comparative? Because there's so many people doing it, like we were just talking about. It's like a lot of people, and they talk to me all the time. They're like, why should I start? There's so many people doing it. What's going to be different about me? And like my like best advice to give to those people is like, none of us are the same. You can show a different perspective and a different outlook on life that no one's ever seen, because no one's understood your own thoughts.
You.
Yeah, no one. You can present something to the table that no one ever would have thought of, and it wouldn't have been brought up if you didn't say anything about it.
Two people can have the same exact idea, but the way they present that idea will be different.
Yeah, and one thing I always talk about with my friends, bro, it's like two people, you and your friend, like right now, for an example, me and you.
Yeah.
We're here right now in the same exact moment at the same exact time, but me and you are going to have two different memories of how this whole thing went down in our experience.
That's facts, dude.
So it's like you never can like really compare yourself to someone else, because they're not going to experience or have the same thoughts that you have during that process. So
I totally agree with
that.
that.
You stay in that right headspace, not to compare yourself to other people's.
Well, for me, it's a day-to-day battle. Like, I haven't necessarily had the opportunity to have my whole complete studio set up.
Yeah.
Plus the computer that I've been working on for the past couple years is a piece of shit and it's like crashing out right now. So I'm actually saving up right now to get a new laptop. And once I get my new laptop, basically like the laptop I've been working on, I've put myself out of opportunities that I could have taken because my tool belt, as in like my laptop and the things that I'm able to do, weren't up to par. And that's always been my biggest downfall. But I feel like right now I'm in a headspace where I'm like, okay, it's time for me to like really upgrade and get the things I need to get. So once I get this new laptop, I'll have the things necessary that I know I need to have to put myself out there and do those important things. Because earlier on, I would be like, I would have this idea and I would try to execute it myself, or even go to the studio. You know what I mean? Go to the studio and try to execute it, and it would never turn out the way I wanted it to.
Yeah.
I feel like nowadays, I feel like nowadays I'm getting to the point where when I know what I want to execute, I have a better idea of how to execute that, how I originally envisioned it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. So I
guess that I could say that's like my biggest progression.
Alrighty, guys, thank you for watching, tuning in to another episode of the All In Podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you, babe,
dude,
for
thank you
coming
so
to
fucking much, dude. For real.
Tune in. That's fire. Go check them out on all social medias. You can shout them out. Link will be down below.
Yes, though. Instagram is altbabe, ALTBAEB. TikTok is Babe Music, BAEB Music. Alrighty. Yeah, I appreciate you, bro.
For sure.
Thank you 100%. So much, bro.
Yes, sir.
Don't never stop. This the flow that got the block hot. Got super hot. Hey, give me my respect.